Hello, everyone. My name is Lucian. Most of you know me from X or former Twitter as Triangle Investor. In today's edition of CEO and Market Expert Interviews, I'm joined by Hugues Jacquemin, CEO of Northern Graphite Corp. Hugues, welcome to my show. It is great to have you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Great to be here.
My pleasure is all mine. Let's start. My first-time guests always have to say something about themselves. So let's start with your background, your origins story. Tell us more.
No problem. So I'm a Belgian guy. I've been in the materials industry for the last 35 years. I'm an engineer, and I spent the last 10 years of my career around graphite and carbon powder. So I'm quite an expert in the field. And today I'm the CEO of Northern Graphite Corporation. We're a Canadian listed entity, and we are the only producer of natural graphite in North America. And we have a mine in Namibia. We have a project in Ontario, and basically driving the company and taking us to the next level and going after the energy revolution, energy transition with our materials.
Excellent. What about your background? What were your roles prior you took over Northern Graphite?
Well, I actually was the CEO of Imerys Graphite and Carbon Division between 2014 and 2018. And then after that, I was involved in a startup in the single-wall carbon nanotube business. And then during COVID, I started working for Northern Graphite as an advisor. And then in June of last year, I became the CEO of a company.
Excellent. Graphite is in the headlines in a way it hasn't been before. What is all the fuss about? Tell me more.
Well, it's very interesting because most of the graphite today is made in China, and there are very few producers outside of China. In fact, in North America, we're the only producer. And so from a geopolitical standpoint, in the last 18 to 24 months, graphite has really come up very strongly as a critical mineral. And that's mainly due to two factors. One, the geopolitical situation and the relationship between China and the West. And second is, graphite is the most important part of a lithium battery. It's what basically stores all the lithium ions in the battery itself. And so with the advent of the energy transition and the growth of electric vehicle and the growth of batteries and the application of batteries in vehicles, but not only, it's become a very important material. But it's not just about batteries. Graphite plays a role in a lot of different industries, including defense, electronics, construction, steel making. So the fact that the material is not widely available, that China has such a stronghold on the material itself, it's really raised the ante in terms of how can the West create their own supply chain of the material. And at Northern Graphite, that's what we do every day.
Okay, so the graphite demand story is coming into its own, and you run, like you said, what is the North America's only graphite producer. The sort of that thing puts you in the first mover's position, correct?
It does, and I think we have quite a strong position. But most importantly, we're in the business today. We have a lot of expertise, we have a lot of know-how, we have a lot of customers. And so not only does it allow us to be as a first mover position, but we also have let's say, a very strong competitive advantage because of our know-how and knowledge and the people that we have within the company itself and the customers that we serve, obviously.
Yeah, sure. Like you said, graphite is not just batteries and EVs. That's a good point. What are the current supply and demand dynamics, if you can say a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, it's you have to look at graphite as a pyramid, and depending on the quality of the material that you produce, you can address different type of applications, and some applications are more stringent than others. We tend to play across the top end of the spectrum. So, the company has been producing graphite for 30 years. So we've been in the business a long time. And what we do is we produce some of the best and highest quality graphite that are available in the world, and we service some very specific applications. For example, we service customers who will build fuel cell plates for the hydrogen industry, or we service customers in the electronics industry that produce very high performance screens and laptops and cell phones. And our graphite is used as a way to dissipate the heat from these units by using the very large flakes that we can produce in Lac Des Iles. But we also have, very high quality of graphite in terms of electrical capacity to store lithium ions, so to provide storage capacity for batteries. And so our material will basically provide a very strong base to build lithium-ion batteries, and therefore we're developing that material with the customers. So it's a pretty broad industry, and there are very specific applications that need a lot of good technical support and good quality products. At the same time, we've got the lithium-ion battery industry that's growing very rapidly, and there's a real need for a company to basically start developing these materials in order to be able to service the market and compete with China, which today has such a dominant position. But overall, it's a very diverse industry, and the one that's growing the fastest is the lithium-ion battery, but there are a lot of different applications that we serve.
Yeah, I got it. That's a good point. What's the outlook for graphite demand in the future?
Oh, most of the applications that we serve are growing at twice the rate of GDP. So, there's a natural growth rate for most of the applications, but the lithium-ion battery industry is growing so much faster than any other industry. And so, most of the large volume growth is going to come from the lithium-ion battery industry. I mean, if you think about it, today the world produces about 1.2 terawatt of capacity, and the demand for graphite is about 1.2 million tons. But the industry is forecasted to grow to more than 7 terawatts. So that 1.2 million tons is going to become 7 million tons over the next 5 to 6 years. So what is quite interesting is that, there are many applications for graphite, and most of those applications are growing at twice the rate of GDP, which is still a healthy growth. But the lithium-ion battery applications are growing a lot faster, and most of the volume in the years to come will come from the lithium-ion battery industry.
And Hugh, can you tell me, how is graphite priced? I'm not an expert in that field. Please explain to me, how is that process going? How is graphite priced?
Yeah, that's a very good question. It's quite an opaque market, because most of it is produced and exported from China. And so it's not easy to really understand, what the pricing of graphite is. But with the emergence of the West and the fact that these gigafactories are being built outside of China, and most of the OEMs and the battery manufacturers want to source their materials outside of China, there's a lot more transparency in terms of what the pricing is out in the West. And basically what you have is you have let's say, a tale of two markets. You have the Chinese market, where a lot of the volume is being sold and it's quite opaque. And then you have the Western market, which is now becoming a lot more transparent. And within that market itself, the prices are higher, and the quality that is requested is higher. And therefore, it's starting to become a bit of a let's say, a tale of two markets. A Chinese market that tends to be quite opaque, and a Western market that is a lot more transparent.
Okay, let's get to your operations. What can you tell me about Lac? I don't know if I will pronounce it right. Lac Des Iles, right?
Yes. Well,
Okay.
Lac Des Iles is a mine that has been operating for more than 30 years. It's located in Quebec, in Canada. And what's quite interesting about the mine is that it actually is the cornerstone for our development, because we bought the mine and it was coming to its end of life. And then we did quite a bit of exploration last year. And the exploration is basically showing us that there's a lot more graphite in the ground. And so the Lac Des Iles mine, has the potential to become a lot bigger than what it is today. And that's what we're working on. We're working in expanding the resource and expanding the capacity there so that we can service this market that's growing so quickly,
But what is the current status of operations right now at the moment?
Oh, it's producing about 15,000 tons of graphite per year. It produces a wide range of products. We produce jumbo flakes, large flakes, medium flakes. We service a lot of different applications. And today it's the only producer of graphite in North America. Most of its production is going to the US, a little bit in Asia, a little bit in Europe. And for us, it's really the cornerstone, because we can build on this mine to then expand the other projects that we have,
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you have some producing plans, outlook for 2024 already on the table?
Yeah, I mean, we want to expand the capacity. We can actually produce as much as 25,000 tons in Lac Des Iles. And basically what we want to do is, we want to be able to expand the production, reduce the cost, and start servicing some of these battery markets that we serve. And the plan for us is to continue to invest in that facility and to continue to explore so that we can extend the mine life and increase the capacity that's there.
Okay. Can you help me with two more metrics? Cash income outlook for that project and cost of production, if you can talk rough numbers.
Yeah, I mean, we report our numbers on a quarterly basis, so they're freely available out there. I mean, our average sales price for that mine on a ton basis is $1,500 US per ton. Our cash cost for the product is about $900 per ton. So we make about $600 of margin for our products out of the mine itself. If we sell, let's say, 10,000 tons of material, we will generate about $6 million of margin. If we sell 15,000 tons, we'll generate about $9 million. And if we sell 25,000 tons, we'll be more in the range of 12.5 million. And so, the goal for us is to continue to expand that operation and continue to generate about $10 million of EBITDA margin from that facility on an annual basis.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good. And you have another mine set to restart, but it's on the other continent. It's in Namibia, or Okajande. I think I pronounced it right this time. What can you tell me about that? What is the overview, current status of that mine?
Yeah, it's quite interesting. Namibia, first of all, is a very friendly jurisdiction for mining. It's a great country to operate in, very safe, very regulated. And basically, we have a mine there that was operating between 2017 and 2018, and then it was put in care and maintenance. And basically, we're in the process of restarting that mine by relocating the asset closer to the mine site itself. And so our intent is to have that mine in operation in 2025, back in operation in 2025. Now that first stage of process will be able to produce 31,000 tons, so twice as much product as we currently produce in Lac Des Iles. And that product will go to the same markets, but more targeted, so the same applications, but more targeted towards the European market, because being in Africa, it's a little closer to Europe than the mines that we have in Canada. And basically what we want to do is expand that mine all the way up to as much as 150,000 tons a year if we can. And what we want to do is be able to sell that material in those traditional markets, but also in the lithium-ion battery market. And as you know, and as we said before, you know, lithium batteries will drive the growth of the graphite in the future. So the expansion of that mine will be, you know, there to support and to sell the material in that market. Now, you know, the mine itself, if we're producing 30,000 tons a year, it will make a similar margin to the one that we have in Lac Des Iles. So that one will basically generate between 20 to 25 million of EBITDA margin.
Okay, well, same question as for the prior project, some cost of production, maybe cash income outlook. I know it's early, you said 2025, but do you have some rough numbers also?
Yeah, we published a PEA on it, so it's available on our website. But you know, the cash cost of the product there should be around $700 per ton. If we assume a similar sales price to what we have today out of our Lac Des Iles asset, and deduct the cost of transportation, because we have to transport the material all the way from Africa, you know, we get a similar margin of about, you know, $600-700 per ton. And so if we're producing 31,000 tons, you know, we'll be generating about 20 million of cash out of that operation. So
okay. And you said 2025 production. Is that full production already in 2025, or you will ramp up?
No, actually, in 2025 we will be in full production. I mean, remember, the mine was operating before, so you know, we're basically restarting an operation based on existing equipment and existing mine sites. So from our point of view, that first phase will relatively be easy for us, and we should be at full production relatively quickly.
Okay. You also have another project that is based in Ontario, Bissett Creek. What is the plan for that? You plan to build a mine. You plan to build that project, right?
Yeah.
How is that fitting in your strategy?
Well, you know, as we said, you know, we have a cornerstone asset in Lac Des Iles, so we're expanding that. We're restarting the asset in Namibia, and so that's going to give us that additional capacity. But if we want to service the battery industry and, you know, capture some of that millions of tons growth that's coming down the pipeline, we need even more capacity than the one we have in Namibia and the one that we have in Lac Des Iles. So we have a third project, which is in Ontario. It's called Bissett Creek, and that project is basically shovel ready. We've been working on it for 10 years now. We've done a full feasibility study, and so we're getting ready to start the engineering. And the objective would be for us to be in production with that mine in 2026. And the first phase will allow us to generate about 40,000 tons of material. So in addition to the 31,000 in Namibia, to the 25 that we would have in Lac Des Iles, we can add, you know, 40,000 tons in Ontario. So all in all, you know, we would have about almost 100,000 tons of material that would be available by 2026.
Hugh, what can you say about the Baie-Comeau opportunity? How does it fit in your company strategy?
Well, I mean, Baie-Comeau is the project that will then take the graphite from the mine and turn it into a material that can be used in a battery. Because if you produce your graphite and you try to put it into a battery, you know, it won't work. You have to further process material in order to be able to make it usable in a lithium-ion battery. And in order to do that, you have to mill it, you have to shape it, you have to purify it, and you have to coat it. So, you know, our objective is to build a very large site in Baie-Comeau that will take the graphite from all the different mines that we have around the world and turn it into something that can be used in batteries. And usually, you know, we sell our graphite for $1,500 a ton on average, but the battery materials will sell between $9,000 and $11,000 a ton. So by building this facility and having the ability to transform the graphite from the mines into a battery anode material, we can get a much higher revenue for the material that we produce. And that's the objective. as well as capturing the growth, the millions of tons of growth that we were talking about before.
Mm-hmm. You're a multi-project company, so you have a lot of pokers in the fire. How would you sum up Northern Graphite's long-term strategy?
Well, I mean, we have to do it step by step. I think what's really interesting about Northern Graphite is the modularity of our company. I mean, if you look at it, we're producing today, we have an existing mine, we have a mine that used to produce, we're bringing it back into production, and we have a brand new project that we want to start engineering and constructing at the same time. So, from a mining perspective, we're building it step by step. First, consolidate the position in Canada with a Lac Des Iles mine, restart the mine in Namibia, and then get the project in Ontario going. In parallel, we're developing this anode material plant. We're doing it with partners who will bring the technology to the table. We will bring the graphite, the infrastructure, and the site. And together, we will construct that facility to be able to service the battery industry. And for us, it's really about the modular, integrated, step-by-step approach of doing these projects and leveraging the skill and the expertise that we have in the company today.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. What can we expect to see in the terms of news flow in the next 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, good question. So I think, I would categorize that into 4 different buckets. The first one would be Lac Des Iles and how we expand the facility, how we expand the resource there based on the exploration that we did in 2023. That would be one set of news flow, because if we can expand it, we can expand our cash flow generation, and we can solidify and consolidate the position of the company. The second one would be around Namibia and how we restart that project. And basically, we're working on that as we speak. And over the next few months, there will be news flow coming out telling you exactly how that's proceeding and how that's moving forward. Then there is the Baie-Comeau battery anode material project and how that's proceeding. Because as we produce more and more graphite, we want to be able to turn that graphite into battery anode material. And so, keeping an eye on the news flow that we will be putting out there with regards to developing our anode facility in Baie-Comeau. And then, how do we then continue to develop the company around the technology that we need in order for us to position ourselves with the battery manufacturers and the OEMs moving forward, and how we finance the business, because all of these projects will require some funding, and so we're trying to be smart how we do that and leverage the different assets that we have, as well as the balance sheet. And so, as we develop our company, we'll be announcing different phases of funding for these projects as we move forward.
Yeah, so long story short, you expect a very busy 2024, right?
Yeah, for us, 24 is a really important year. A lot of the work that we did in 2023 was to prepare for 2024. And now we're more in the execution mode, especially on the mining side, and then on the preparation mode as we talk about transforming the material that we mine into a battery anode material.
Okay. I understand you are holding an investor event on January 18th. What will that be about, and how can people sign up?
Yeah, no, so the best way to sign up for it is to go to our website, and in the news section, there's a media advisory about the event. Basically, the event is a conference that we've put together. We've invited the economists to come in and give us, let's say, a state of the market around graphite and how they view the opportunities with regards to graphite. And then my team and I will make a short presentation about our key initiatives moving forward. And then we'll have a Q&A session. And I think, this would be very interesting for anybody wanting to know more about the company and what our strategy is.
Definitely, definitely. And I will highlight that at the end of the interview, and I will post your website Thank you very much, Hugh. That was a great interview. I learned a lot from it. Like I said, I'm not an expert in graphite, but I'm very interested to hear a story. Thank you very much for this interview and wish you luck with all your projects.
Thank you very much, and looking forward to our next conversation.
Me too. Thank you.